Hi, welcome back. I'm A.W. Elliott, and in today's episode, this is segment 5, we're going to talk about your investments, your stocks, your mutual funds, your EFTs, your dividends, and specifically what you can do to keep more of those returns instead of handing them to the IRS. That's a no-no, you know. So we want to keep as much as we can legally. All right, because here's something most casual investors don't think about. How you invest matters almost as much as what you invest in. Okay, two people could hold the same portfolio and end up with dramatically different after-tax returns. Okay, just based on how they manage the tax side of things. Okay, and that's what we're talking about today. So let's start with the basics, and we're going to build from there. All right, capital gains. That's the profit you make when you sell an investment for more than what you paid. Okay. Taxes are they're taxed differently, depending on how long you've held the investment. This is one of the most important distinctions in all of investing, okay? Short-term capital gains, okay? On investments you held for more than you've held for 1 year or less, not more than 1 year, 1 year or less, are taxed at ordinary income rate. So if you're in the 22% tax bracket, you pay 22% on those gains, okay? Long-term capital gains. Okay, long-term capital gains on investments you held for more than 1 year and are taxed at a different rate. Okay, for most middle income Americans, that rate is just around 15%. For lower income taxpayers, it can be 0. For higher income taxpayers, it goes up to 20%. Okay, so the takeaway is simple. Hold your investments for at least a year before selling. Flipping stocks in and out of your portfolio may feel exciting, but you could be paying nearly twice the tax rate compared to a patient long-term investor. Okay, holding on long-term is the key, is the name of the game. Strategy number 1. Tax loss harvesting. This is one of my favorite strategies because it turns losses into assets. Here's how it works. If you have investments that have dropped in value, you can sell them to realize the loss. Okay? Then use that loss to offset capital gains that you've had elsewhere in your portfolio. If your losses exceed your gain, you can even deduct up to $3,000 of that the excess loss against your ordinary income each year. Okay, any additional losses, carried forward can be carried forward to future years. Okay, let me give you a quick example. Say you sold a stock for a $10,000 gain. Normally, it's at a 15% long-term rate. You owe $1,500 in tax, but you also have another investment sitting at a $10,000 loss. If you sell that loser, your gain and loss will cancel that out, and you will owe 0 tax on that transaction. That tax loss harvesting in action. Okay. One important rule: if you sell a security for a loss, you cannot buy that same security. Okay, so you can't buy the same security within 30 days before or after the sale. That's called the wash rule, and violating it could mean your loss is disallowed. All right. Strategy number 2: you want to use tax advantage accounts for your investments. Okay, putting investments inside a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA changes the tax treatment entirely. In a traditional IRA, you can get a deduction now and pay taxes on withdrawals later. In a Roth IRA, you'll pay taxes now and put all of your gains grow completely tax-free, and qualified withdrawals in retirement are also tax-free. Okay? For long-term investors with decades ahead of them, a Roth IRA can be one of the most powerful wealth building tools available. Okay? Strategy number 3, access assets location. This is about being strategic about which investment you hold inside your tax advantage account versus taxable brokerage accounts. Okay? Generally speaking, high growth assets like stocks do well in Roth accounts because their gain growth is tax-free, okay? Income-producing assets like bonds or dividends, stock, may be better held inside a traditional IRA or 401k where that income isn't taxed each year. This is called asset location, and it's a technique used by sophisticated investors to squeeze more after-tax return out of the same portfolio. Okay. Strategy number 4, qualified dividends. All right. Not all dividends are taxed the same way. Qualified dividends, which comes from most U.S. stocks and certain foreign stocks, are taxed at the same long-term capital gain rate. Okay. Ordinary dividends are taxed as regular income when building a dividend-focused portfolio. Okay? Understanding which dividends qualify for the lower tax rate can meaningfully, Jesus, man, affects your tax outcome. Okay? Strategy number 5. Be thoughtful about when you sell. If you're planning to sell an appreciated investment and you're right on the edge of a tax bracket, timing that sale could matter, okay? Selling in a year where your income is lower may be a year you change jobs, you took leave for whatever reason, or you're semi-retired. Could mean you fall into a lower capital gains bracket, even dropping from a 15% rate to a 0 rate on a large gain is a meaningful savings. Okay? Here's the bottom line for investors. You can't control the market, but you can control the tax efficiency of how you invest long-term holdings, okay? Tax loss harvesting, using the right account type, and being strategic about when you sell. These are all levers you have complete control over, okay? Very important. All right, so in the final episode, episode 6, we'll be putting everything together into a year-round strategy, not just what to do, but when to do it, okay? How to stay organized, and how to make sure you're never caught off guard at tax time again, okay? We want to plan ahead, get these strategies together. Also, we just added to our client library, we added to Jesus Christ. We just added the client library to our website. It's under our client resources. We have tax and accounting topics, articles, white papers, and educational videos. And we have a free monthly financial and tax newsletter. Okay, be sure to sign up for that. It's free. Okay, it costs you nothing. All right. We'll see you in the final episode in about a week or so. Look forward to talking to you.